Hmm. Hey, good day, lovely humans.
Hello.
Welcome to our weekly live Q&A. And today I am featuring my lovely daughter, Crystal. We've been, both of us, traveling a little bit, having some holiday time. Boy, there's so much chaotic energy as well. We just had quite a chaotic morning trying to get everything organized to get here. Hi, Ricky. Lovely to see you. Please bring your questions. If you can put them in capital letters, that's super helpful. We will look at as many questions as we can get to with this morning's live. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And we're going to have some links below after the live so you can find out how to book sessions with us. Crystal is doing readings. She's doing half-hour readings on the website, full-hour readings, and also in the very near future, she's going to be offering her coaching sessions separate from her readings. Right now, she kind of amalgamates her coaching and her readings together.
I do, and I am doing both. You just go, if you're wanting a coaching session, just mention in it that this is a coaching session, not a reading.
Super.
Or you can just tell me when you get there. Maybe I want coaching today.
Yeah, right.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Ready for you.
So we don't have any questions showing up yet. Shall we just have a look maybe at energies this week?
Yeah.
Start off with just looking generally at energies, what we need to know. I've been listening. I sort of binged watched several astrologers last night, some of my favorite astrologers, and listening to the forecast for, basically the next month or two, and even on into the fall. And I keep waiting to hear, like, this is going to ease up, and we're a little bit more in smooth sailing. So far, what I keep hearing is we're still going in. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Angela.
We're still going in pretty full on middle to the end of August, and then a lot of these transits continuing on into later in the fall and right up to, I heard about something around Christmas Eve. So, wow.
I'm getting the image of like free rock climbing. And it's like just when you think that you're really making some progress and you got it going on and whatever, and then all of a sudden you like slip and you fall and there's like, this big slide down that happens. It feels like there's a lot of oh, well done, Ricky. Yeah. I mean, I feel sometimes like I'm like, yeah, I'm getting it, we're doing it, it's awesome, and life is beautiful, and then all of a sudden it's like little tumble.
Put Ricky's up there. Energy, body, light is growing stronger now. Well, I don't think that's just you, Ricky. I am definitely sensing for so many of us, like we are accelerating exponentially in terms of our frequency, our upgrades. And we were just talking before we came on the live about how as we do accelerate and come into our fuller potential, boy, the dark force energies, and I'm not just talking about, the political entities out there in the world, but I'm talking about inner energies, like frequencies that are attracted to the light that we're emanating. And, I really don't see it as we're victims of that. I see it as they come in to show us where we need to grow. They come in to say, okay, you're doing awesome. And like Crystal was using the analogy of the rock climbing, it's like, don't get so confident that you think you got it all figured out, because we can always get, I want to say, stronger and more actualized, because we've been the opposite of that. For the last 8,000 or 9,000 years, we've been under this power dominant controlling system. So we've got to literally be retrained. The guides are showing me we're like muscles that have atrophied. We don't know how to be our human selves. And therefore it's like these challenges, providing we can stay grounded and do a lot of the inner healing so that we don't interpret the challenges as, oh, they're out to get me and the world is not a safe place, and I'm a victim. If we can do enough of the inner work where we continue to reflect back, something about this is helping me see where I need to grow. That's kind of what I'm getting. Okay, so let's have a look. What do we need to know about the energies? We've got Four of Swords.
That's facing us. That's fine.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Four of Swords, and then okay, 10 of Cups is what we need to know about the energies of this week. I'm going to let you speak what you're seeing with that, Crystal, and then I'll weigh in as well on it.
It's been coming up a lot in readings and sessions that there's a lot of the dance of dualities that's happening, and that, especially in here in the northern hemisphere, when it's summertime, we're in such a like go period that it can kind of get overwhelming sometimes, and I'm hearing a lot of people feeling like they're just kind of exhausted or wiped out, and mom's talking about doing the inner work, and part of doing the inner work is really allowing space for some of the heavier stuff to come up, and for sometimes we don't even know what energies we're processing, and that might wipe us out, and it's okay to rest. And doing the inner work doesn't mean that you're not going to get heaviness in your life and that you're not going to get wiped out sometimes. Right? It just means that I keep seeing that those wipeouts are clearing and making space for the upgrades to continue to happen.
Beautiful. Well, and I love, when you're saying wipeouts, it makes us think of really big tragic accidents, right? Like, oh gosh, like a wipeout is a big crash, but none of this is like the big crash tragedy. This is almost like, I would call it more psych out than wipeout.
Yeah. And along with the psych out comes forms of burnout. Right? Like this is like you either rest or life's going to force you to take a minute.
Yeah, let's see what the advice is around this. So King of Swords. So we have the Four of Swords as us needing rest. The answer, what do we need to know about the energies this week? 10 of Cups. Beautiful, like happily. It's funny, I think I had this in a significant position in my forecast on Beyond Mystic this week as well. It's like, okay, 10 of Cups is happily ever after. It's a bit like the rose-colored glasses. There is an alchemizing, open-hearted, divine union energy, alchemy. Like you see that alchemy symbol there, and the two people meeting on neutral ground. So there is an alchemy underway. That's in the recent past. And right now we're exploring new territory. And I want to say, like you were saying, within, new territory within.
Yeah.
And that's going to open up greater opportunities for us in this next, I always look at the four with this judgment, go big or go home, big opportunities for upgrading. You see the characters literally coming out of their coffins to the call of the angel Gabriel blowing the horn, like, wake up, it's time to upgrade. So in terms of this energy of the beautiful rose-colored glasses energy, seeing the happily ever after possibilities, it's like we have to take some time internally in meditation to let this energy percolate from within. Because if we just stay in the outer realm, so
in the do.
Yeah, we've got this King of Swords. He's very methodical with how he works with his mind. And let's see the other, patience. So we are needing to slow down and be very methodical and work with the power of our mind and not let it run rampant.
Yeah.
Because our soul is trying to open our eyes to something else.
So when we're going through a lot or stuff is coming at us and our mind is our first responder quite often, how do we support ourselves in not letting it run rampant? You said meditation. I know it's pretty hard for me to meditate when my mind is going bonkers, so.
Whoa, look at this. We just pulled
Mhm.
2 side pockets, which to me, side pocket is sort of like more information, especially around
Mhm.
something we could say, yeah, I want to be able to master my mind. You could put these 2 cards together, this King of Swords and the Four of Swords, and you could say mind mastery is high on the priority list in order to let the natural energy begin to emerge, which is more joyful, more hopeful, optimistic, not just fake optimism, but
Mhm.
true optimism from inside. And Crystal's saying, well, how do we calm our minds? I feel like this is step away from the things that you normally do.
Mhm.
And we've got the 2 little pages, children energy, play.
Curiosity, playfulness. It's like instead of going down the rabbit holes that we usually go down and trying to control all the outcomes, um, really start to be like, I'm open, I'm curious, I wonder. Like, I assist people a lot when they're in those places. Is this familiar for you? Let's get curious about it. What part of your inner child needs to be looked at here? Who needs to be listened to? Like, what part of all of these inner aspects of you is feeling overwhelmed right now?
It's funny.
How can you give that some little unconditional, sweet little love, right?
It's funny because I look at this guy and I think of him usually as he's quite a taskmaster. He looks very stern, right? He's got this sword. He's like, we got to be focused now and be in like academic and think and research and study and all that. And he's all about thinking and communication. He's kind of like a scientist, right? But it's funny because I see him with these 2 little pages and I almost get the feeling he's like a school principal or the head of something, and he's literally saying, okay, it's recess time. Like everybody has to go outside and play now. It's like enforced recess is what I'm getting. And
Mhm.
like that's actually what is being prescribed because he's a little bit like a doctor as well. And he's saying, now we have to play. Like it's literally serious. It's not like, oh, you get to have some free time and play. It's like, no, you actually have to go out and have recess.
So I've been able to play quite a bit lately. And my fear when I go into play mode is that I'm going to drop balls in life. And what I actually see here is that there's this pause and you're not actually trying to juggle all the balls. You're making sure that you're focusing one ball at a time. This page is like, I don't have to juggle the balls. I got one ball. I'm going to do that really well. And then I'm going to play.
Okay.
And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to pick up another ball and deal with that. And then I'm going to play. So that's beautiful advice for me too, because eventually we do really actually get where we need to be going. I trust that,
Well, this is interesting too, because we've got 10 of Swords here at the other side pocket, more information. Well, we all know this card really, really well. It's like, put your mind to bed, put your mind to rest, get out of your mind, beyond thinking, I call it, and into energy, into moving energy. Like getting beyond thinking is actually a practice of moving energy. Because it's funny, like this morning I had my little freak out coming here. It's like a lot of thoughts piling up in my Gemini brain. Gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. Oh, not enough time, whatever. And then like leaning into this energy of, boy, that can really send me into feeling depleted, defeated. Look at this poor guy. He's laying on the beach with his back full of swords, like, oh, this feels terrible. Whereas these kids over here are like, okay, not right now, not that way. You're not going to solve anything. This overthinking a million things. You got to get out of that frequency. You got to change states. I guess if I were to summarize what I'm seeing here, it's about changing our state inner state in order to integrate and assimilate what's going on in the outer. And we're not going to be able to hold, look at both of these pages have something in their hands. They have a gift. This guy has the gift of physical stuff, be it money, resources, health, healthy habits, diet, lifestyle. And this guy's got the gift of energy, motivation. He's inspired, he's creative, he's grabbed the tiger by the tail, ready for an adventure.
Yeah.
So it's like these two are saying, you know, if that's the state you want to be in to solve some of these problems, you don't want to be in the think, which just creates more and more and more and more tension and anxiety. You've got that 5 of Wands under there. See that? Like they're fighting. The energy's getting all balled up. So play to change your state.
And it's not, I mean, it's not just play, but it's even internal play. How can we be more playful with ourselves, which comes again down to curiosity, right? It's just like, oh, hi, Mary Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't finish what I was saying, but I just love seeing all of you. And hello, Leslie Ann, Faith, and Handle with Care. We see your question, and that's a beautiful segue from what we're speaking about into how we carry these things in our bodies. So let's have a look at that. And thank you. Hi, Dawn. And thank you, Dawn and Ricky, for your back and forth there. You're sharing some beautiful wisdom and some beautiful vulnerabilities that we're all resonating with. So
Pam and Angela, if I haven't said hello yet.
We did that.
Okay. Yeah. So Handle with Care is saying, I'm having severe hip pain. Is it from the energies coming in and releasing old abuse trauma, or is something physical going on? Okay. Well, I mean, we are not here to diagnose.
Certainly not.
And definitely you want to get some kind of medical support from whatever, I'll let you shuffle too, Crystal, from whatever sort of medicine really resonates with you.
I can't get it today.
Okay.
I'm shuffling, so you know. Okay.
However, I really am hearing in your question, there's a consideration that some of what we're going through physically relates to energies that are coming in and that are literally upgrading us, and that there's in that upgrade, old energy needs to go somewhere. And I've had the experience, you know, sometimes it's just phenomenal to me to look back over the last 10 years and see the highs and lows of my physical health, and to recognize that I feel like a lot of those lows are my body clearing out old trauma from lifetimes, from my ancestors, trauma in my bones, in my genetics, in my DNA, in my soul memory. And when I look at it like that, it's not about not addressing specific physical things and getting whatever kind of medical support I have available to me and feel really motivated towards. It is, however, helpful for me to not go into this box narrative of, okay, I have this problem and this is how it's going to unfold. Like, this is the trajectory of whatever the issue I'm struggling with is. You know, you get the diagnosis and then you've got this, okay, this is my condition. And I'm less favoring that model of healing at this point in my life. I'm more favoring curiosity about how my body, mind, and soul are trying to integrate, transmute old trauma and patterns and heal. And instead of telling myself it's going to take this many months or years, or this condition is, you know, terminal, there is no healing for it, whatever these narratives are, I'm looking at things with the awareness that part of what's happening is actually helping me evolve.
Yeah.
So
the greater wisdom in it.
Yeah,
Quite interesting.
that's how I want to preface our inquiry. So here we have you, handle with care, as the sovereign, sovereign, independent, 9 of Pentacles. And what we need to know about your question, 6 of Cups, 6 of Cups. Okay.
There's potentially some little beings in you that are part of your, that are parts of you that maybe didn't get cared for and that have been through trauma that are asking to be held by this new sovereign being that you're stepping into. And the time for, because this is emotional reciprocity here as well, and that having that dance and that care with yourself, with these little beings that have been I often see this card in my deck that I use. It's only cups with plants growing out of them. And I've been saying to people that we plant seeds of wisdom all the way through our lives, and each kind of transition into the next up level being that we're becoming. And those all grow. And then we also need to go back and tend to them so that they can grow in the best way possible, because each one of those beings help to grow us into who we've become. Right? And so all of those little plants and seeds that we've planted continue to need tending as we go along. And you are in the perfect position to actually do that. Look at how bountiful her garden is here.
So taking the resources that you have, both physical, like money, gifts, connections, time, and utilizing them to care. I love what Crystal said about going back to the part of you that needed something at a certain time in your life and you didn't receive that, so you go back. And often, I would say, because we have a 6 here, we have a 9 here, it's somewhere between the age of 6 and 9. This card is also about childhood. It's about nostalgia. It's about going down memory lane. Let's see what else comes around. Okay, yeah, there we go. So in the past, 5 of Pentacles, some abandonment, some way that this did not get cared for. Present, okay, yeah. I'm going to talk about this for a moment here. And potential future. Look at that. There's that 10 of Swords, which, interestingly enough, when we're talking about healing, I often relate this card to acupuncture. Because it literally looks like needles getting poked into the person, right?
Yes.
So sometimes it's about some of what we're healing and doing, we can do through therapy, through talk therapy, through different therapeutic processes, psychological processes, and sometimes we can go at it from both ends. We can go at it emotionally and we can go at it physically and meet in the middle. So I'm just curious about something like acupuncture or acupressure that actually open up meridians related to especially the spine, right? It's along his back. So that
would play into your hip too, right? The other thing that could work for your hip is something like dry needling, which you can get done at physio. I had issues with my hip and the dry needling really helped me. So that's another one that could be supported.
And that's through regular physiotherapy. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, 2 pages again. There they are. Pies. So we got 3 child cards here. So definitely something going on about your inner child being reclaimed from, okay, we've got this character in the middle. I guess I've just got to bring this out into the realm of the public arena briefly because it's so prevalent right now. Now, you know this to be the devil, and we can talk about the devil archetype for a long time, what it means in the tarot. Basically, it is an energy that is a kind of parasitic energy which has a function. And the function is to bring our attention to the things that are out of balance. And so often, and the way this character is showing up in readings in the last 6 or 8 months is just phenomenal. I've never seen this ever in all my years of reading. It's almost every reading I'm doing, this character is showing up related to childhood trauma. And it is the collective trauma. So this is not pointing a finger at you particularly, Handle with Care, or your family in particular. We all have this. This is collective trauma. Every one of us, probably everybody alive on this planet right now, has it in their personal history or in their family history. And this is violation, abuse, child, basically some sort of, I want to say, sexual abuse in childhood, in a position where somebody didn't have sovereign autonomy, and were compromised because of that.
And most likely stemming from a certain amount of trauma around security, particularly financial, and sort of displacement from the higher level essence of what we came here to be as human beings. And through a lot of the programming of our planet and a lot of what's gone down, there's been a lot of trauma around this, particularly in the last 5 generations. So, and then of course beyond.
Right. So this is, and like I said, this is not you. This is not just you. This is everybody. I see it in like 99% of the readings right now. It's coming up. So I have a little 4-part way that you work with the healing around this, because whether you've inherited from one of your ancestors or you have this in your own personal story, this is collective shame and trauma that we are all working on healing. So part 1 of the healing is that you identify your superpower in coping with this. So you say, and with this independence card here and sovereignty, it feels to me like some of your superpower is about being sovereign and independent, because if you were in a position, or if you inherited this maybe lack of trust in authority, in like the status quo, the safety, you became, because of that, really fiercely independent, which is a superpower. It's something to be so like proud of and hold with honor and dignity. So that's part 1. You address, you claim the superpower that was part of your coping, okay, from what you've either inherited or experienced. Part 2 is, in that superpower, you see there is something a little fractured. It's the shadow part of the strength. So if the strength is independence, the shadow part is not having the ability to receive support, especially emotionally. You're so independent that you can't be open to receiving support. That's the shadow part of the superpower. So we don't release the whole superpower. It's not like, oh, stop being so independent. It's awesome you're independent. What you're releasing is the little part of it that isn't so awesome. And you're saying, I can be independent, but I don't need to be shut down around receiving support, especially emotionally.
And releasing is an interesting one, because we think that we need to sort of deal with it and then let it go. And releasing can also look like actually making space for giving that the unconditional love that it never received, which is what I was talking about with that. So the healing and the dealing with it can also be as simple as going back and not that it's simple, but working at giving that type of support to those places. So
yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that Crystal's talking about the root chakra and stability and security.
Yeah.
Because I'm noticing, I don't know if you see this, and I do this visual divination, I call it, with the cards. It's part of how I teach my courses. So we have this character that is clearly the benefactor, a little bit, maybe just slightly older, and has something to gift to this slightly younger child. And this character has got red tights and a red hat. It's like integrated the awareness of the necessity for root chakra health, and also literally the root chakra is healthy, like his legs, his feet, red. Red is the color of the root chakra, which has to do with security, with feeling safe, feeling rooted to this planet. This beautiful little child has it in her mind. She's got the red cloak
She's
on.
actually got orange.
Hers is orange, but she's not got it in the root. She's not grounded in it. And he's giving her this medicine to help her ground. So something is happening inside of you around grounding into that root chakra, safety, security, stability. So you've learned the lesson of being super independent. It's not about becoming dependent. It's about now going deeper into feeling safe and open and trusting while still being independent, if that makes sense. So this is not just for you. Again, this is for everybody. And then, of course, the third part, because I talked about first, claim the superpower, second, release the shadow part of the superpower. Third part is release the narrative. So the narrative is where we go in and we say, what happened? Why did that happen? Who is the perpetrator? How do we get justice for that? Like, they have to pay, and it's really about giving all of those narratives to the creator and the lords of karma, for justice will be served in the bigger picture, the bigger energy. And it's when we get embroiled in trying to create justice, it's actually not our role. And then it actually pulls us deeper into the trauma. So saying, I release the justice to the creator and the lords of karma, and I don't need to understand why this happened, what happened, who did what. The final piece, fourth part of the healing of this trauma that we're all going through, is to me the most beautiful and essential part, which is releasing all shame. So my belief is that all shame came from original shame, which connects to our original sin, which goes back to, some aspects of the Garden of Eden story. And I feel like there was a violation that happened to humanity against our sovereign will. And we've been carrying the shame of that ever since. So all shame on this planet can be traced back to that original trauma about we were innocent and we were violated in our I want to say our autonomy around ourselves as sexual beings, as creator beings, that was violated, and the frequency was lowered, and we were made to feel ashamed of our animal selves, basically.
Which as children, we don't have shame. That gets put upon us through our lives. When we step back into our children and our inner child selves, we can let go of a lot of that shame, because that's not the true essence of, people are, it's kind of, children are kind of shameless. It's like, they're just more in their primal, like Mom said, and that's beautiful. Lastly here, I just wanted to say with these pages here, this page of Pentacles is really about little daily rituals and healthy little habits. So this healing doesn't need to happen all at once. That's so overwhelming to try to do. And just honoring what little switch ups you can do to really change little ways of rebuilding healthier habits and healthier routines and rituals on the daily.
Look at this on the side. Like somehow whatever's happening is healing. And, when I think of the hip, it is right around our sacral. It's between the root chakra and the sacral. So the root is our grounded security and safety, and the sacral is our sacred creative energy, which includes our sexualities. And there's an activation here around reconnecting with divine union, with trust, with love, with that generosity, emotional generosity that we saw with this Six of Cups. So there's something opening. The hips are a lot about, can we open and trust? And the final 10 of Wands, Page of Swords. There's something about, in our need to try to create sovereign independence and a sense of security, we often overdo it. We often push ourselves.
Third page.
We often push ourselves beyond our natural limits. We don't know how to speak to our limits. And so this is a big, this is a small question, having severe hip pain in a way, but it is a very big kind of prospect that your question opens up, because it is the energies that are present. Like I said, this is the fact that, and thank you for your guide being willing to be part of the venture. They're saying the venture and the adventure of opening up this topic, because I've been sort of dancing around it a bit for the last couple of months. It's been coming up so much. And I'm like, well, I really trust that when it's meant to come out, it'll be the right moment. And I was going to actually bring it out on Coco's show, and who knows, we might talk about it this coming week. I think we're going to meet on Friday morning on Beyond Mystics. So tune into that, because I think we might talk a little bit about this there as well. But anyway, handle with care. Thank you for your guides sharing the opening to this very, very important conversation, because clearly this is a big, and it's up for all of us.
You may also, Dawn, I just see your comment about having some things to shift tomorrow. I'm excited, looking forward to it. You may also want to tune in, handle with care, with what hip it is that you're having issues with, because we have a masculine and a feminine side of our bodies. And I know my shoulder issues have been in my right side. And so I've been doing a lot of work with my father wound and discovering that, like, wow, there's a lot to move there. So you may get some wisdom as to what side to kind of focus on if you're knowing what side of your body is masculine or feminine.
If it's,
so father or mother lineage.
Left side feminine, then that would indicate the possibility that this is something coming through your mother's line.
Yeah.
And if it's on your right side, the masculine, it could be something. I mean, it's just points of curiosity, right? To go, okay, this is something, where might this stem from? And beginning to have compassion. People often say, how do I release this? How do I get rid of it? I want it gone. Like, I need this to stop. I don't want to pass this on to my children or grandchildren. And what I often see with ancestral healing is that it literally is about like just observing, starting to do a little bit of research and holding that knowledge. Like sometimes just holding knowledge begins to shift things. You could say, oh, well, I've known that for a few months and nothing's changing, but you never know, like 6-8 months later, all of a sudden some event could happen. And it's your body, your psyche, your soul saying, okay, we got to hold it. And then when we're ready, when the time is right, we're going to do some release and healing around it. And that's also what happens with body code and emotion code, is that these traumas, just because we say, okay, I have this issue and I'm ready to heal it, doesn't mean the body, mind, soul is ready to heal it. But if you're aware and you're attending to it, just curiosity and exploring as far as you go with it is what is being asked of you right now. And then just leave it in the hands of the creator, and know that in time, when the time is right, all that you've explored will alchemize. and healing can happen quite rapidly at that point. Okay, we have
White Feathers question.
Yeah.
Some women have these days menstrual irregularities, including me. Is it related to age, women abuse that is purging now to be healed? What can we do to heal and do better?
I'm so curious about this question.
Honey.
I'm so curious about this question. It feels like it connects with hormonal health. I'm going to let you shuffle now.
Okie dokie. I've been wondering that myself, somewhat with the irregularities and somewhat with like energetic irregularities, things that just don't feel like me, like brain fog, anxiety, overwhelm, that just don't feel like a natural part of who I've been so much. And, I know that a lot of the, I want to say the continued enforcement of the patriarchy and chaos of our world really messes with our feminine systems. And we see that being more and more reflected right now in how women's bodies are responding to the collective experience.
Super. Okay, so
I'm curious too.
Me too.
Yeah.
So let's start with.
So is Dawn.
Let's start with, this is White Feather. There we go. Thank you for putting in capitals. This is you, but it's also us collectively as a group of women opening our hearts to this inquiry. And there's that happily ever after card. There's that, the energy, the frequency upgrade into the realm of joy and happiness out of misery and sorrow and fear. So pretty good place to start from.
While you're laying that out, Mom, I'm just going to say, speak to Maria Wise. She is a certified emotion and body code provider and loves assisting people with their healing and generational healing. That is so beautiful, Maria. If you want to put your site up there so people can find you, please do. We need all the healing that we can get and all of the people that provide that. So please do share with us. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So what was the question? Because the answer is yes.
Yes.
This is the yes card.
Okay, let's put it in capitals. She summarized it here and put in capitals for us. Are menstruational irregularities related to collective abuse purge to heal?
Yes.
Yep.
That's a yes. I mean, this is kind of the
Great
yes
question.
card.
Yeah.
And if so, what can we do to heal better? Okay, let's look at past, present, potential future. Past, okay, very interesting. She's about creating boundaries. So we start our healing journey as women with good boundaries, which gets into sovereignty, which gets into know yourself. It's also, she's a communication card, and one of my favorite things to, I want to say, recommend or inspire people with is the practices called nonviolent communication. And I can put a link below to just some basic sites that you can get started with. But nonviolent communication is actually not necessarily about, for one thing, it's not about like hurting people or hitting people physically. It's about responding or reacting from a place of either fear, defensiveness, or anger and attack. And in our communication, this is how we've been trained. Certainly when I was growing up, my gosh, it was literally like every kind of interpersonal communication that I learned was about attack and respond. That's how we did. And so we're relearning, and a lot of it starts inside of you. How do you talk to yourself? How do you identify what your needs are, what your feelings are? You start with yourself and you make these boundaries of, this is my parameter. This is what I feel, and I have every right to feel. It's not about what someone else has done. It's about what's going on inside of me, and then identifying what my needs are, and then being able to respond and clearly communicate those feelings and needs without it sounding like a confrontation or an attack. Really good work and necessary. And there's something about that's the beginning of the healing, is making boundaries with ourselves first and then with others. The next piece, the mother. So this is a lot about healing our mother wound. It's about healing the ways that our mothers didn't have the boundaries and therefore weren't able to teach us how to create those boundaries as women. And therefore, we are all somehow in a state of trauma and shock around not being mothered in a protective way.
Yeah.
And so we are getting in touch with, gosh, it's so interesting. Crystal just said to me this morning that after a lot of work on the things around my mothering in her childhood that was detrimental to her growth and her development, we've done lots of healing around those things. And she said that she's actually coming to a place where she has more and more joyful memories and really feels the desire to celebrate the ways that I was an extraordinary mother.
Yeah.
So this is actually around our menstrual cycles, our relationship to our feminine, and it goes directly to our mothers and our lineage on our mother's side. So this is where we are right now. We're healing.
So speaking of my mother and how she was a great mother, I was raised to really honor my menstruation. Like, I think the first book that you gave me when I got my period was The Red Tent, and I also, she developed a whole group of my closest female friends in my class and their mothers, and we celebrated coming together and honoring our womanhood as we came into that piece. And that was rare, actually. And I know that a lot of women coming into their moon time and into their periods, it's always been that thing that we've treated like a bit of a burden. And some of us have had beautiful relationships with it, but like, it is a lot. It happens every month. It's like a pretty big fluctuation, and so when our bodies start acting differently, we're like, well, I want my period to hang on, or I just want it to go and I don't want it to be so complicated. But we've actually, over time, developed a really unhealthy relationship with our cycles.
Yeah.
And this is an invitation now to, I feel like, go back to researching some traditional ways of honoring our cycles and how that honoring was so connected to nature. And the natural flow of the frequency of being in nature is one of the only times that we actually really get to connect with our feminine.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. It's like if you have a very unhealthy relationship with mother, the mother archetype, yourself as a mother, your grandmother, whatever. Nature is the divine mother that you can find the healing, comfort, and solace in. And it's, this is, in a way, it's also our relationship to the natural world through our bodies that is up for healing right now. Because you're asking, how do we heal this? Yes, these fluctuations, these irregularities, and these shifts are related to the trauma that's coming up.
Yeah.
We heal it by, first of all, working with boundaries, with learning how to communicate within ourselves, stating our sovereignty, our needs, our feelings, and then working on our mother wounds, which we all have. Because our mothers, even in our scenario where I did support my daughter in holding a new belief and value around the monthly cycle. The whole outer world does not do that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know,
So much to the point that I was like, oh God, this is stupid. You know,
Right?
back in the day, I'm like 12, 13. I'm like, oh, this is so lame. And all the girls are like, this is so lame. Secretly, we're like, this is so cool, you know, but like there's going to be that pushback due to our programming and what we're experiencing around us. That is like, gosh, you know, like we see all these things as a younger or middle-aged woman right now. You see all these things on social media that's all about like, you know, the perfect woman and looking a certain way and being a certain way, and none of that is about really celebrating our cycles, unless you get the odd woman that's talking about it. But it's like, it is not looked at as like a beautiful or attractive thing.
Well, look at this. I mean, we're about to really dive into this. So I would suspect in the next 3, like we got the number 3 there and the number 3 there, in the next 3 years, we're going to see a lot of the trauma related to our womanhood, our fertility. A lot of that is going to be brought to the surface. And we're going to need to start, just like in our truther community, we're going to need to start by examining the facts, the evidence of what's been done. And our bodies are going, yep, it's time out. We're not just going to go unconsciously down this same path without doing this healing now. The body is, there's a book that, not The Body Doesn't Lie, but it's almost like not keeping score, but something along those lines, like the body's going, okay, it's time. I'm not doing this a minute longer without going back and now gathering all that trauma and beginning to heal that, because this is open heart surgery.
Is that the Gabor Mate book?
Might be. It might be. This is open heart surgery, which means we are delicately, gently, not forcefully coaxing these thorns, these barbs, these swords out of the heart of the matter. It will require very gradual, delicate surgery, but this is something from the past. This isn't just happening now. This is eons old. This is old stuff. Okay, so our advice.
Hello again.
There's that 10 of Swords again. 2 10s, so mastering completion. I want to say the good thing about this is the worst is in the past, but now we have the very, very potentially long, somewhat arduous job of unpacking all that. Because when people are in immediate trauma, there's no time to do the healing. There's no time to do the transmutation and process. I mean, you just got to get through. You got to survive. That's where a lot of our ancestors, or a lot of our female ancestors, just got through stuff and survived it. Now, and I will very hesitantly say it could go on for a very long time, this healing. From sources and resources that I've been working with, understanding more about the Yuga cycles between the Dark Age, the Kali Yuga, and where we're going back to the Golden Age. But we don't just flip from the Darkest Age to the Golden Age. We go through phases of getting clearer slowly.
So, I mean, potentially another 20,000 years. So, like, we might as well just.
Well, let's just say 10 generations likely, because it's probably been about 100 generations of it going the other way. So 10 would be about the right amount. But that doesn't mean you have to live in darkness and trauma and distortion for 10 generations. If you're awake to this now, you could, in your lifetime, change this trajectory.
Particularly if you make those boundaries with like, no, I'm not bringing that old narrative through anymore.
Yeah, what I'm really speaking about, the 10 generations, is that that's the collective turn to something new. But we can have pockets of inspired, healthy, higher frequency people living and setting the tone that eventually everyone resonates to. One thing I feel is very important because of these 2 10s and this 3 of Swords. The most important thing I see is that we recognize that the actual traumas, the worst of the traumas, are behind us. So we don't need to be as anxious.
Recreating those
Yeah,
traumas.
exactly. Another 10. Oh, look at this. Another 10. The Wheel of Fortune. Start where you are. And it's quite possible that when you're ready, you could gain a lot of traction and do really great work in this healing. And this might be for you, White Feather, that you're being called to do some great work with this. And the world, 2 gateways, 2 beautiful up-leveling gateways, the world and the 4 of Wands. So
this is a gateway time, and your body has the wisdom, White Feather, to bring this into part of your soul's path and your soul's purpose, potentially. So thank you for sharing that with us and for bringing it up. Aw. And thank you for your beautiful words, my dear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We're all in this together too, because a lot of the tradition of honoring our cycles is something that we are all doing together, like they do in the red tent, where you know, the some of the pain and the ache and the depths that our body is able to go through in those times is actually really honored as those monthly initiatory experiences that allows us to be these powerful beings that are women. Right.
Creator beings. So I want to just make mention about this book, The Red Tent, that we're speaking about. I'll put a link below where you can go to Amazon and have a look at it, check it out. I believe the author's name is Anita Diamond, something like that. And it's an older book. It was written like early 2000s. What I like about it is that it does open our eyes to one particular culture's tradition around how they honored the potency and the relevance of the monthly cycle in their culture. It also, unfortunately, that's part 1 of the book. Part 2 is where you see the flip, and it goes from this goddess tradition into the patriarchal dominant culture. And then the whole part 2 of the book is war and fighting. And then, of course, they made a movie out of this. I was like, oh, we'll see what they do with that, because it's pretty hard to describe on film some of the, intimate personal ritual that they describe in the book. Well, of course, they hardly
didn't do it very well.
They hardly talked about part 1, which was really the most potent part of the narrative, is about these traditions that the author has obviously researched in her own culture. They basically just focused all on the war, and it was like they just kind of gave lip service to the, oh yeah, the women had this thing, they met in the red tent, and they had these ceremonies, but then really what's important is that men just fought for like several generations. They just fought. It's like, okay, that's business as usual for Hollywood, so I wasn't expecting much more, but I just want to give you that little bit of preamble around, if you're going to read this book, if you haven't looked at it yet, I really highly recommend focusing mainly on part 1. And, if you're just into reading more of a, usual narrative of war and fighting amongst men, then you go ahead and read part 2. But I think that a lot of the wisdom and what makes the book so profound is that first part. So,
well, especially the culture that it's coming from is what we've been woven a lot with, and there's a lot to do about religion and all of that kind of stuff. So it goes back for sure. And actually, Mom has so much wisdom in this area, and could probably recommend 50 other books that are probably way more in tune with the depths of what we're.
I don't know. I
But
think
it's a great place to start.
I feel like this book is pretty extraordinary for getting the conversation started. Like, those books like Da Vinci Code or whatever, where you just dive in and it's done so well in terms of dramatizing this narrative and making it really intriguing. And that's why that book took off. And now you've got spin-offs, 20 years later, you've got all these red tent associations and women of the red tent and goddess priestess of the red tent. I mean, just look up red tent groups on Facebook. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands of them all over the world. So a lot of that stems back to this book and how it got people thinking differently. There was already some wisdom in exclusive little pockets of people that were exploring. And then this book hit the mainstream kind of channels, and that was it. It really opened up. So I think it's a good place to start with your exploration.
Thanks, Dawn. Please remember to like and share and subscribe. It's just so beautiful to have all of you here, and the more the merrier always.
So funny because this morning, I think we've looked at it all. I think we're closing soon, but this morning we were like, wow, just a lot of energy rocking along in life. We did a bunch of personal readings for ourselves and each other last night, and we were kind of like, oh gosh, a bit perplexed by it. And we were like, I wonder what's going to come up today in response to just, as I said at the beginning, the astrology of where we're at and how much is, I just feel frequency. There's a lot of vibration. There's a lot of reverb in the airwaves right now. And it's so easy to get kind of psyched out by that. But look at what comes through, like these portals of phenomenal potency come through at this time. So we had no idea what kind of questions we were going to be looking at. We figured it would be a lot of the usual talk about war in the Middle East and Donald Trump's assassination or whatever. And here we are talking about menstrual cycles and wounds around childhood trauma, and particularly around violation and sexual abuse in our lineages. That's, in a way, you could say that's a pretty potent response to the chaos that's going on outside. So there's never any there's always mystique and mystery around what comes through on these lives, but it's never a mistake. It's like there's something powerful in where the outer life brings us to in our inner inquiry. So I'll leave you with that. Last closing thoughts, Crystal? You have anything you'd like to bring forward for everyone?
No, I always just continue to come back to that curiosity piece, and let's all give ourselves a big hug and share that with each other, and step into how can we shift when we go into that narrative. How do we shift into that little bit of playfulness with every reality that comes up that is there to challenge us? Let's see how we can shift that a little bit by being curious and giving ourselves that little bit of extra love that we may not have received in the way that we needed as we were growing. So
yeah, I just noticed, I have to say, I can't let this go.
Be grateful you're a man.
Yeah, Dawn saying, Ricky, be grateful you're a man this lifetime. And Ricky saying, I am grateful for everything I have, even my being a man. So I want to say that what we're speaking of with trauma, with these violations, with the energy around the mother wound, the feminine energy, the creator energy, the cycles of nature, our relationship to our bodies, our fertility, all of those things are universally relevant for men and women both.
Yeah.
It's like, in a way, almost, I think that as women, we have a natural sort of birthright pass to get to go into some of this great mystery work. A lot of the indigenous traditions around the world say that so much of the shamanic practices were designed for men by men, because men don't get the natural initiation process that women go through because of our relationship to the divine creator through our wombs and our cycles. It's not just about the suffering that we go through with it. It's also about it holds us in a kind of potent reverence that we can't just set aside and get stuff done. Like, we are always, the divine feminine as its most exalted form is always creating, nurturing, and expanding and connecting universally. It's like this great receptor, energy transmuter. It's really hard to get things done when you're in that, right? It's like you're there like,
so thank you, men, for coming in and getting things
right?
done and helping us out with that.
For women, we have that natural, like, we're given that. That's a part. And you know, people have varying degrees of masculinity and femininity. There's women that are very masculine, men that are very feminine. This isn't about just male and female bodies. It's about that energy. But I feel like for men, it is a learned process to intentionally connect with your feminine part and then put aside all that doing and getting things done and focus and drive and all that stuff that's really been praised in our culture of power dominant model, to have this sacred relationship with divine source. So we have benefits and drawbacks of being on either side of this, I want to say, teeter-totter. And I honestly sense that this is the time for all of us to heal the extreme imbalances of that.
Yeah, that alchemy.
The alchemizing.
Yeah. Love to all. Thank you for being here.
It's been such a delight as always. Have a beautiful week, everybody, and we'll see you next week for Q&As. Awesome. Bye for now.
Bye for now.